I'm Charles Mudede. Actually, my full name is Charles Tandarai Mudede. I live in Seattle. I'm a writer, professional writer. I write mostly for The Stranger weekly in Seattle, but I write for other publications as well. And I also write and make films. I'm a filmmaker. The Russian formalists have an idea called ostranenie, and it means that we get too used to life. We get too used to things, and that the artist's role is to always break that spell of the ordinary, the spell of the usual, so that if it is the sound of a bus, or if it is the creak on a chair, if it is a sentence in a police report that's meant to be, function as a way of bringing order to some incident that's happened in the city. My job, and I think the job of any artist ultimately, is to break it and to expose the fact that these things are incredibly special and unusual. I was born in what was called Rhodesia in 1969, February 8th. And it was a small town, an African-only town, and also I was born in an African-only hospital. I don't know why I always have to mention that, but we live in the 21st century, and I'm not that old, but I was born in a segregated part of what was called Kwekwe. And when about 5 years old, my parents moved to the US to advance their education. And so we lived in Nashville, Tennessee. My parents completed their advanced degrees in Washington, D.C., and we went back to Africa. And we spent about 10 years in Africa. It was a very happy childhood. A lot of running around the neighborhood and doing not much at all, except dreaming. A lot of dreaming in Harare. I love the noise of the city. In fact, I can't live anywhere else but in the city. And I've spent my entire life, be it Washington, D.C., Nashville, Tennessee, Harare, London, Seattle. I need concrete, I need the noise, I need trucks trying to deliver goods. I need people shouting at each other. And in fact, I suppose the police reports are like that, just the noise of city life. I read a column called Police Beat in the weekly The Stranger. It's supposed to be, like any police blotter in a small newspaper, in the sense that, a reporter goes to a police station and gets the police reports for the week. How are you doing? Can I pick up police reports? Thank you. I get basic police reports and try to make them interesting. In fact, I'm hiding what I do. What I do is I use it as an opportunity to write poetry, poetic prose. Yeah. Shamelessly. Officer J. Van de Bogart reports, victim had a relationship with the witness. The victim is male, white, 21. Witness is white, female, 31. Victim called witness to tell her that he had a gun and was going to kill himself. The witness asked him where he was, and he again made threats to kill himself and told witness that he was on the trail behind the cemetery. Witness's 2 children ran off without her to look for him. The children located him sitting on some grass beside the cemetery trail. As they approached him, he pulled out a handgun and shot himself in the chest. He then stood up, walked a few feet, dropped the gun, and started to walk north on the cemetery's trail for several hundred feet. It is unknown if the victim survived or died from the self-inflicted wound. What witness 3 sees from a distance, 3 teens walking, 1 limping, is death leading a boy and a girl to the land of no thing. Even though the incident takes place in the middle of a sunny day, we see it, while reading, as happening at dusk. Thick shadows grow over the sister and brother. They are leaving the daylight of childhood and entering, Cecil Taylor-wise, the long night of adulthood. The column and the two films are continuous. You have to see them as really one growing out of the other. The column being the product of police reports, and the film being a product of those police reports, and the same with the film Zoo, the documentary, being a product of King County Examiner reports.
I was attacked in my yard. I don't know what happened, but something struck me on the head, and I ran.
The police character is really an infusion. First of all, it's an infusion of several police officers. Lots of different police officers wrote the reports that make up the character. So he is the SPD in essence, as it were. And then he is me in the sense that he is an African, and an immigrant, someone who's new to Seattle. I, at the time, was reading a lot of Foucault. And I loved the way Foucault built a lot of his ideas around reports that he dug up at the library, at the government head institutions and so forth and so on, and would write philosophical texts from them. And so I said, I'll just like he does, I'm going to go and retrieve police reports and look for things that speak to the state and the condition of the city, the state and condition of everyday life. The police are constantly entering different rooms, having conversations with different people in a way that I couldn't do it. So the police end up being a kind of like 1,000 eyes. I actually look at these reports and I try to find elements, or as if you're looking for gold and some dust, you try to find something that's purely poetic on its own account. Like I had nothing to do with it. It appeared naturally. It appeared because the circumstances forced the writer into a moment of poetry, right? There was one story where a couple were fighting over something or another, and at one point of this argument, it sort of got violent, and the woman, picked up a bird cage and threw it at her boyfriend, and inside this bird cage was some kind of bird, I think a canary or something of that kind, and so she threw the bird cage at her boyfriend, and so. What really fascinates me is that there's a point in which the bird cage is going through the air, and the bird in the cage must say, "Oh my God, am I flying? Am I free?" Something like a drive-by shooting is so unusual that it doesn't really tell you a lot about what a lot of people experience. Right? But a bird cage flying through the air and the bird mistaking it for freedom, that's much, much closer to an ordinary experience for most of us, the illusion of happiness, the illusion of freedom. There is a sense that a lot of the city is vanishing every moment. Basically, a report lasts about a week. I can catch it and preserve it and report it in the column. So otherwise it's just into an abyss. Every week, a big part of the city, of its incidents, are just sink into nothingness, and they're forgotten. There's no way to retrieve them. There's no way to remember what happened. I used to keep all of the reports. I couldn't let go of them because of this fear of extinction, that I couldn't believe that so much that happens that's recorded is erased, but I stopped. I got over it. I now let the city disappear as a natural part of its experience.